Very good. Okay, very good.
Good morning, and welcome to another episode of Hard Factor, presented by the Barstool News Network. It is episode 585, Thursday, December 17th, 2020. Almost done with this insane year. We got a full house. Pat, Mark, Wes, and I'm Will. Everybody's here. We're all feeling good, and we got some big stories to talk about. So.
You're gonna want to be done with the year when you hear my story. When you get to the end of my story.
Oh, great! Well, you're going first, so let's just depress ourselves right away.
Tomorrow's Florida Man Friday, guys. Okay, bear with me because we're gonna talk COVID, and there is a lot to talk about. So I'm gonna try to fly through these topics. We'll see. First off, the East Coast got a nor'easter, which is a snowstorm yesterday, while the West Coast has been getting a coveaster, which is COVID right up their asses. 16.9 million people have tested positive for COVID in the U.S., with about 200K new cases a day, a little bit over 200K. We dipped yesterday, which was nice. We were at 202, but we were like 250 the day before. And over 306,000 deaths attributed to COVID in the U.S. California alone has over 400 new cases in the month of December, which is only halfway through. But it's not only California, which is currently sitting at a 11% positive test rate, or the West Coast that is fucked. I just wanted to make a joke about keystering COVID and talk about snow for a second earlier in there. Idaho, guys, according to Johns Hopkins, is at a 58% positive test rate. So I guess they're only testing people that are pretty fucking sick.
Say Idaho. Yeah,
South.
I mean, it's going wild out here. Idaho's really close to Reno. I heard a stat, and it's not. I don't know where it came from, but I heard that 1 in 10 Renoites right now has COVID, like active. So
wow,
it's going nuts out here.
I'll tell you your percentage in a second. South Dakota's at 43% positive test rate. Pennsylvania, big state, at 39% positive test rate. Texas, where West Pat and I are currently, 21% positive if you're getting a COVID test this month. And Nevada, where Will is at 17%.
Oh, we're actually doing pretty good.
Yeah, most states are above 10%, guys, which was like that magic number for traveling. If you're above 10%, don't come here. Well, everyone's above 10%, except for like Hawaii. So, I mean, thank God that vaccine is here, right? Well, hang on a second, because Dr. Joseph Varon, a critical care doctor at United Memorial Medical Center in Houston, told NPR that more than half his staff of nurses will be refusing to take the vaccine for political reasons, to which the NPR host said in the exact same monotone they had been speaking in prior, oh my God, Dr. Joseph. That's
the nurses.
Good.
That's nurses who have to deal with it every day. They're not going to take it.
They're not going to take it in Houston. At the end of the day,
political reasons.
Yes. At the end of the
personal reasons.
Political, he said. Here's the quote. At the end of the day,
well, that was the doctor saying about the nurses. So
yeah, it's secondhand. But he said at the end of the day, like I have said before, coronavirus has become a political toy. So I think he's also leaning towards that. Most of the reasons why most of my people don't want to get the vaccine are politically motivated. That's what he said. He's an actual doctor. Varon also said that the United Memorial Medical Center, which is a small community hospital, admits at least 6 new critically ill patients a day, presumably with COVID. And some patients that travel there are coming more than 10 hours because they're coming from El Paso, which apparently just has no more beds or capacity to treat new patients because they're so screwed over there in El Paso right now. Critical care stat. Go ahead.
I mean, this guy, he's just. Does he indicate his political affiliation there, or is he just saying political reasons I'm not taking it?
That's he just the quote that I said. They didn't really get into
That's
more.
Crazy.
I mean, yeah,
he's
critical care staff at United Memorial are also just so exhausted that there reportedly are frequent breakdown crying fits midday from the staff. Like any given day, people just hunched over crying.
Yeah,
because
I was in the hospital yesterday, and there was people with full on headgear, face masks. They're not playing around right now.
It looks like Andy Reid in Scrubs.
I was listening to Stern, and a doctor called in. I think he was from Johns Hopkins, or he's either there or the Mayo Clinic, and he was saying he was talking that this isn't going to be the peak until April, and every day he goes into work is the worst professional day of his career. And he was talking about that, like starting like a support group for these people in the hospitals because
it's been tough. On
healthcare
workers, for sure.
That leads me to say that to all the frontline workers, we here at Hard Factor don't give a flying fuck about your political stance. We thank you for what you do and wish you all a safe holidays and New Year's. Hang in there. You're all a bunch of heroes. All right. I mean, like, basically I think I can speak for all of us there. Also, I personally hope that the vaccine becomes less political. Yeah. Well, look, I
wanted to retract that.
I personally hope that maybe he'll agree with this. I personally hope that the vaccine becomes less political in reality and in people's minds, and that it kicks ass like Pfizer claims at 95%, and we are all attending sex parties mask-free and judgment-free soon. But moving on, because we have a lot to get to, let's make fun of a few of the top health officials associated with the Trump and soon-to-be Biden COVID teams. According to internal emails obtained by a House watchdog and shared with Politico, former Health and Human Services science advisor and top Trump appointee Paul Alexander wrote several emails to his boss, Assistant Secretary for Public Affairs Michael Caputo, and other top officials, which said that, hey, our strategy should be to just let everyone get COVID to develop herd immunity. He said, and I quote, "There is no other way. We need to establish herd. And it only comes about allowing the non-high-risk groups to expose themselves to the virus, period," all caps. He said it may be that it will be best if we just open up the flood zone and let the kids and young folk get infected.
That's a guy that didn't think a vaccine was going to be made very quickly.
Well, also important to note that he started sending these emails on July 4th, probably from a boat or while poolside. He was like, let's get it going.
Yeah, I think that guy's job was to think of all possibilities.
Right.
He wanted to party. He couldn't. When he got to July 4th, and he had to get out and party, and he didn't want to get caught, doing something that he didn't advise everyone else to do. Also,
start with the bad ones.
Yeah. Also, Ezekiel Emanuel, an oncologist and professor at University of Pennsylvania, who is one of the 10 advisory board members that Biden appointed to his coronavirus task force in November, wrote an essay titled "I Hope to Die at 75" for The Atlantic in 2014. And that essay goes on to say, "I think this manic desperation to endlessly extend life is misguided and potentially destructive. For many reasons, 75 is a pretty good age to aim to stop." It also said that he, at the age of 75, would reject pretty much all health care, including flu shots for sure. And then he went on to say, if there is a flu-like pandemic, he has to regret this essay. He has to regret this fucking essay. He said, if there is a flu-like pandemic in the future, a younger person who has yet to live a complete life ought to get the vaccine, and alluded that.
Oh no! And now this guy's like a top government official getting the vaccine
for
first.
A 77-year-old president.
I mean, that's such a misconstrued.
Whoa, that's misconstrued. I read the essay, Pat. It wasn't tongue in cheek. He is literally saying that we need to focus on younger people.
what he
no,
said.
I agree. I agree.
He's a big Kevorkian guy.
He's saying,
but he said he doesn't agree in self-assisted suicide. You just shouldn't try to prolong your life with medicine.
Past 70.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but the difference is he's the flu thing is bad if that was the circumstance, but it's not the circumstance where like a young person needs the vaccine over an old person.
That's pretty. Right. I mean, that's a cold take. That's
you're
like
looking at that through
exposed,
whatever tinted glasses you want there. Look, reminder that both sides have idiots, and we're all fucked for the first half of 2021.
Keep talking about him
because human beings are in charge of getting us out of this mess. He definitely regrets that essay, anyways. Speaking of idiots, the World Health Organization came out and announced that Santa Claus is officially immune to coronavirus yesterday. Isn't that cute and not anger-inducing? I just want to hug those fun, silly gooses at the World Health Organization that didn't declare COVID-19 a global threat or grant it pandemic status until months too late earlier this year. Those goofballs.
Until Italy was like, there was all the videos of like Italians just going insane. Yeah, that's when they finally declared it.
Hey, nailed this.
Convenient.
Check my Twitter when I was screaming at them and adding them to please declare it a global emergency. Hey, nailed the Santa thing though, guys. That's just good old fun. They also claim that they are going to do some actual work and investigate where the fucking China the virus originally came from. They're sending a team of 10 scientists. And hey, isn't that a novel idea?
That's funny because like a couple months ago they were like, we can't confirm if it did start in China. And then now.
Yeah, they're going to send a team over there. Look, since it seems like the WHO has been at a minimum taking everything China tells them at face value, I'm not expecting a whole lot of that investigation. And good news, the WHO says they are absolutely not trying to apportion any blame to anyone in their findings before they find anything.
Of course.
So even if it's from a lab or an evil person, like in the movie 12 Monkeys, they don't want to point any fingers, just collect the data and hope it doesn't happen again. Fucking idiots. Lastly, another dum-dum as we end today's COVID update is with Tom Cruise. Mr. Tom Cruise.
This one's a hot button.
Operating Thetan level 7, which is what Mr.
Thetan.
Cruise is at. Almost the top level of Scientology. You can get to 8. Mr. Cruise there is at 7. He might never get there, especially if he dies of COVID, which is what it sounded like he was going to do if those 2 crew members on Mission Impossible 7 didn't start operating on the gold standard of social distancing on set. Bubba, can you play the clip?
They're looking at us and using us to make their movies. We are creating thousands of jobs, you I don't ever want to see it again. Ever. And if you don't do it, you're fired. And I see you do it again, you're gone. No apologies.
Whoa.
Yeah. Sounds like
Good
the
on
Christian
you,
Bale.
Tom. That's what I say.
Sounds like the
Yeah, I
Christian
saw
Bale.
Pat
blow-up.
was praising him.
Oh,
Pat,
I'm
Pat-
super pro Tom here. I'm majorly pro Tom.
Yeah, okay. So what
Okay,
you
so-
like how he's laying down the law?
I guess sometimes you see what it's like to be a boss, right? And that's what it's like to be a fucking boss. Tom has the weight of his shoulders, the weight of an industry on his shoulders, because truthfully, that is the biggest film being
in his
made right now.
mind.
And no, not in his mind. Truthfully, dude, he's like one of the most powerful people in the entertainment industry, period.
It's
And he
true.
he has been every
He draws
evening.
a lot of water in that town, Hollywood.
For
He's
sure. I
running
don't-
that set. He's not just an actor on that set. He's a producer on it, and he's talking to studio heads every day, being
Oh,
like, "This
wow.
is how we're doing it." But on the for real tip, if Mission Impossible 7 shuts down, then everyone is fucked. He's dead on.
Yeah.
He's under a lot of
And-
stress.
Well, okay, we'll get.
They had shut down before, right?
Well, what you didn't play
Yes,
was him
a couple
saying
times.
like the people that are losing their fucking houses.
Yeah.
Oh,
To his credit, he is footing a $500,000 bill personally to help social distance the entire crew members when they're not working on a giant boat, which is classic stupid Tom putting everyone on COVID's preferred habitat, a boat.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
that's a
What
bad
an
approach.
idiot!
right?
What an
Those
idiot!
Scientologists love big boats.
He's a
Well,
moron.
it's good for the action.
He's a moron.
It's
But
good for the action.
He is trying to
Michael
keep
Bay, is he
yeah.
like the boat
Well,
captain?
the leader has
put-
a giant
He
yacht.
put him on a cruise ship, but he is
did.
trying to keep the industry afloat, like Pat said. It's certainly, the movie business hurting. Warner Brothers just announced all their movies are going straight to streaming, etc. It just was a bit much from Tom. I think it was like the Oprah couch.
that's
moment.
what I
It was-
thought.
It was 2 guys, Will, in a mask that were 3. They were both in masks. They weren't 6 feet apart. So I mean, I get.
Are you serious?
he's-
That was it?
Yeah, that was it. I
Well-
get that. I get that he's under a lot of pressure. Apparently, he's
Right.
He's been catching all sorts of people. So this might have been like the last straw. But it was just 2 guys working, editing something on a computer, and they were masked, but they weren't 6 feet apart.
That was what I felt about it. Was like nobody deserves
Too much.
'cause This year
Too
sucks
much.
so bad. No one really deserves to be yelled at that
Yeah,
bad. So
calm
like I
down,
get
Tom.
that he's like trying to save
You
the
know-
industry, but
All I
Calm
can say is
down.
like, you know what? When you create jobs and like, if you've ever been in the position where you've hired someone before, and then like you hire a bunch of people, and then like they complain and they just have no concept of what it's like to be in the boss position. Like
Yeah,
I understand
it
why the
happens
fuck people-
everywhere though. Everywhere.
I mean, Pat, you talk to us like this off camera on a daily basis, so I understand why you are on Tom Cruise's side.
Pat's a set tyrant.
Yeah, he's a tyrant.
Oh,
but look,
my bad.
I just said it could have been shorter than 2 minutes, Tom. But my time is up. Speaking, it could have been shorter. That was a long update. I relinquish the floor.
I'm chilling.
great.
sir.
Yeah. I mean, Pat is chilling right now, but wait till we turn the cameras off. He's gonna just rip the lights out of the ceiling. He's a madman. All right.
Do I mess with your lights?
Yeah,
remind me
it
of
had
Christian
it had
Bale.
huge Christian Bale vibes, but different circumstances than Christian Bale.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's move it over. I got my toothpick ready because we're going to the big government corner, boys.
Professionally, guys, you and me are done.
First, Pat, we got to talk a little bit about big government. First up in the big government corner, we got a stimulus check headed towards everybody. Supposedly going to get done this week. According to Senator Manchin from West Virginia, it should have stimulus checks included in the final bill in the $500 to $600 range. So,
Oh, whoa,
so about half of the last one.
whoa!
And if that's if it gets passed, and that's if it's included.
It's like the equivalent of like a fucking when the Boys and Girls Club gives out a college scholarship. It's like we gave out a $500 scholarship to the underprivileged star of our academic community for her to do fucking nothing with.
Or more aptly, it's like just like what we did for the Fatathon for those charities. Not a whole lot, but it was.
No, we did more than this.
We did a lot more than
yeah,
that.
yeah.
We the Fatathon was way more effective than the next round of stimulus. So everybody's going to probably get a small Christmas bonus from Uncle Sam this year, but that's only to distract you from the fact that he's fucking up big time everywhere else. Because second in the big government corner is the fact that despite passing overwhelmingly in the House of Representatives and being the right thing to do from a humanitarian perspective, the Senate refuses to take up the Uyghur Forced Labor Act that would prevent U.S. companies from using Chinese slave labor in their products. And according to Politico,
But it's so cheap, Will.
yeah. That's what companies like Apple and Nike are saying as well, Mark. According to Politico, the Uyghur Forced Labor Act passed by a 406-3 vote in September, but the Senate has refused to take it up amid pushback from companies like Apple and Nike, like I was saying, industry groups like Chamber of Commerce, American Apparel, and Footwear Association.
Who were the three congressmen or women, Congress people that voted against?
There's a ton of pork and beans in that Uyghur bill.
Yeah.
There's like a fucking ethnic genocide happening, you assholes.
There's three people that voted nay.
Did they ever settle out
Yes.
the fucking Apple not paying taxes in the whole country of Ireland situation? Like, what the fuck, dude?
No, correct. You guys hit it on the head. Newsflash, dickheads in the Senate. The ethnic cleansing in Xinjiang in China isn't just going to go away if Apple and Nike hit their numbers next quarter. So do the right thing, pass the bill, and try to get Xi to stop his genocide program, you dumb cunts. Also, Amazon and Walmart should have a made in the USA search toggles if you're trying to avoid us getting fucked into the ground by China forever competitively. So think about that too, Senate.
That's a great idea. Also,
love that idea.
Isn't American Apparel? I know the dude who ran American Apparel was like a notorious creepster, but like the whole thing, and then it went out of business.
Not as much as the Canadian mogul.
Yeah, not
fashion
as
mogul.
bad.
Well,
but the
what's
whole
worse,
thing,
the sex trafficking or the favoring slavery? So
the whole thing with American Apparel was made in downtown LA though. Like that's like why you were paying like fucking like $12 for a blank T-shirt if you were printing on them because
now the Uyghurs might be helping out a little bit. Looks like, but now I have to say those are associations, so I don't want to disparage his company. Those were lobbying firms that are basically.
Dude, they know what they're
controlling
doing.
the bill.
That's the biggest problem with our country is that bullshit right there.
Yeah, and next up, maybe it's just that the government wants us to be just like China because social media posts that point out government failures in China are forcibly removed. And for some reason, the video of the woman getting kicked off the United flight, remember we played it earlier this week for having no mask on a 2-year-old, has been magically removed from Instagram and Twitter after the social media
That's just
companies.
because she's so annoying.
No, it's because they asked her to remove them or they would delete her account. So who got them to do that? United, the CDC, the FTC is suing Instagram and Facebook, so maybe that has something to do with it.
Could it be that she did a settlement with United and United was like, hey, part of the settlement is you need to pull this shit down, and then
not according to her in the newspaper. She said that Instagram and Twitter were the ones that forced her to take it down.
I don't buy that. Is that I don't fucking how could that be
That's
true?
weird.
Okay.
Well,
All right.
finally, guys, it doesn't make sense to me either. I hope we get to the bottom of it.
That whole story's so weird with the.
Well, I think it's just because it points out that our stupid CDC regulations are horrible. Anyhow, we'll get to, hopefully we find out one day. But here's finally something that does make sense, fellas. Representatives Tulsi Gabbard and Thomas Massey are trying to repeal the Patriot Act. We've got a screenshot of Tulsi's video that she did where she used a great quote from Ben Franklin. She said, those who would give up essential liberty to purchase a little temporary safety deserve neither liberty nor safety. That's Ben Franklin.
That's a little
the man
harsh.
himself who said that. Well, he was
little
wise.
harsh by Ben Franklin.
but
He was a
wise.
drinker, that Ben Franklin.
He was, but
That's a little tough, Ben.
wise words. Wise words. Look, the Patriot Act is fucked
He
up.
slammed the bottle on the ground.
Yeah, he drank his dick out of his field of vision.
Look,
Pulls another bottle from his
but
pantaloons.
he was a clairvoyant when it came to personal liberties and protecting the
All right,
Bill of
man.
Rights. Okay, so I think that was an apt quote. I applaud the effort of Tulsi Gabbard and Thomas Massey. Do super PACs next, please.
The Patriot Act is
Well, have we given up on that? That's the weird part about like what's going on in America today with the internet age and our brains not being able to like download and take into context all this information. Like it's been exposed. Like the Snowden shit. Like they're spying on you. The Patriot Act, which was put in place
Project
after
Prism.
September 11th,
taking your phone data,
took so many civil liberties, and like I feel like America knows that, but they just don't care. They're like,
Tulsi Gabbard's trying to reverse the.
No, I know.
So they can't passively collect it.
You know what? We were talking pre-show. You know, we talked about how the Russian hacking of the U.S. government agencies earlier this week, and that we'll find out the full extent of it, and it's apparently very large. I think that potentially the Patriot Act, created these databases on these these databases with all of our information, including
and that's attractive to countries like Russia and China.
So potentially the Patriot Act set Russia up for all this information to steal.
Hey, Mark, is that big government fucking itself?
It sounds like it.
It sounds like it to me, doesn't it? And
let's not forget who put who bigged the government back in the early 2000s.
Look, we don't need to point fingers at parties.
Both parties are equally to blame. On
I'm not about that on the show, Pat.
To me, I don't like anybody bigging this thing up. And one last thing that also makes some sense: a guy who broke his 78-year-old foot playing with his dog also accidentally called Pete Buttigieg's husband Chasten by the typical female name Kristen, and that's not very surprising to me.
Chasten.
It's Chasten. Sorry. He called him Kristen. Here's the quote. He said, "He's an educator, man. Always a mark of good character is the way I look at it. By the way, Jill and I have been enjoying seeing Pete and Kristen. Chasten, I should say, together on the trail. Chasten has become a close friend of Jill's and mine's, obviously, because I know his name."
I tell you what that was. That was I'm not a I'm a president for all Americans. What that was an intentional slip, is what that was, to bring some of the more conservative socialist people onto his team.
I think he just called Chasten Kristen.
What I'm saying. There's the whole group of people who are like, yeah, you bust his balls.
He's just an old dude who thinks Chasten's name is Kristen.
Maybe.
I think his gaffes are funny.
Yeah, I mean, well, hey, they're here to stay. We'll keep covering them.
One thing I will
big
agree
government
with.
corner.
That's a good one. It's calling Chasten Kirsten. That's a good one.
They got to stop saying Pete Buttigieg is the first openly gay cabinet member. It's so unfair to Rick Grinnell.
Right, it is.
And I understand a lot of people don't like Rick Grinnell, but Jesus, stop.
It's because I guess he's going to be the first one to get confirmed by the Senate. That's like the big distinction
asterisk,
there.
Whatever.
But definitely an asterisk. Grinnell was first, right?
Right. Hopefully there's several more too. Let's keep doing stuff like that.
Right. Yeah, it shouldn't stop.
First black and Indian female vice president. Let's keep it up.
Let's do the first repeal of the Patriot Act and super PACs too. Also, that'd be great.
There you go.
Whoever's best for the job, right? All right, guys, this is a special alert going out to all treasure hunters. No matter if you pan or dig or detect for treasure, this goes out to you. One of our own needs us and is being held unjustly against his will. I repeat, treasure hunter needs help. His name is Tommy Thompson, and for the past 5 years, he has been held in contempt of court without a trial for holding strong to our oath of finders, keepers, losers, get lost. He is essentially being held for ransom for some gold coins. So not sure if you guys knew this, but they had hurricanes back in the 1800s too, and one of them sank the SS Central America, a.k.a. the Ship of Gold.
Yeah,
it's a good ship, right? That's a ship. It's a ship you want to be on. Off the coast of South Carolina in 1857, sinking with it thousands of pounds of gold and silver worth millions of dollars.
That's Davy Jones's now.
Yeah, so much money that it caused an economic panic when it went down. So back in the 80s, some 161 investors paid our brother Tommy $12.7 million to find this ship, which of course he did. And
I wouldn't have. I would have I found my treasure. Sorry, guys, couldn't find the ship.
Double dip, say you didn't find it, and
dirty up some boots and some scuba gear, taking a picture and called it a day.
Tommy went as far as patenting a new submarine that he developed to find this treasure. He was good at what he does. He found it. and there was like some claim issues where certain people couldn't claim it. Anyway, he ended up getting it. He got sold it for like $40 to $50 million back in 2000.
Ooh.
But there's this issue of
the gold or what? What did he get?
The treasure.
The treasure.
Gold.
$12.7 million in investor money.
They never saw any of the money. So he got sued back in 2012, and he was supposed to appear in court, but instead, no, he took off. So
good luck finding a treasure hunter.
Exactly. He
left a map.
Yeah.
Find me.
Yeah,
Just a middle finger in the exit.
what they wanted were these. What they wanted were these 500 gold coins that were minted from gold bars, and they wanted his gold. Can you believe that shit? So of course he didn't give up. He didn't give it up. He fled to Florida.
Being a treasure hunter is sweet, Wes. Once you finally make the transition, you'll be able to just like get out of situations and just be like, well, I'm a treasure hunter.
Well, if I've learned anything from like the Uncharted series, like you have to expect to be murdered when you deliver the treasure too, because they don't want to leave any. So you might as well run, because the people you're delivering the treasure to are just going to kill you anyways.
Yeah, so you can commit crimes and also have crimes committed to you.
It's the shortest pro career of any sport. Pretty much as soon as you turn pro, there's a good chance you're going to get murdered.
It's just a race to double cross. Who's going to double cross first?
Right. It's like, big drug deal. There's a lot of treasure out there. So anyway, he
Not
ran.
enough, apparently.
The marshals caught him in 2015. He was fined, sentenced to 2 years in prison for protecting his gold. Also, part of this bullshit plea deal was the government was required to tell them where his gold was, or at least help those idiots try to find it. But of course, he again protected his treasure and stuck to the code. Some idiot judge sentenced him to stay in jail under contempt and pay $1,000 a day until he cracked and gave up his treasure. And guess what? Our brave brother still hasn't cracked, and he remains in jail to this day. So the average maximum length for not cooperating, like a witness not cooperating, is 18 months. He's been in jail way past that. So this judge, Algernon Marbley, questioned him. There he is.
Algernon Marbley?
That sounds like a treasure hunting name.
Yeah. Which means mustache in some ancient language.
Yeah.
So he's got that. He questioned him. He said, Mr. Thompson, are you ready? This is back in October. Are you ready to answer the seminal question in this case as to the whereabouts of the gold? To which
Are you
Tommy
ready to tell Algernon where the gold is?
Yeah, tell me where the gold is at. So Tommy smiled and said, Your Honor, I don't know if we've gone over this before or not, but I don't know where the whereabouts of the gold. I feel like I don't have the keys to my freedom. So Tommy is using the classic excuse that a rare disease caused his short-term memory loss.
Nice.
1,700 days in jail and $1.8 million in fines is what he's at right now.
That's nothing compared to how much gold he's sitting on.
Yeah, he's got $50 million of gold.
Right.
They let him out and he pays them in gold.
Right.
You take gold?
Yeah, do you take gold?
He's way in the the fines right now. I tell you, somebody knows where it is. Somebody loves to know where it is. They pressured his girlfriend, who claims that she was moving around the golden suitcases for him back in like 2000. It ended up in Belize possibly, but he's not signing over a permission to check the Belize account.
What a story.
Yeah. And I think Bubba had some more information about like claims about I don't know, Bubba, if you do or not, about like how different countries and how they operate.
Well, yeah, I thought this guy was from England, not from the U.S. But there's still, like you were saying, there was difficulty with claims. It came down to, I was looking at it. It's like, so like in the U.S., if they have claim to it, like if you can claim it all the way back to you are someone who was supposed to have the gold, or you were someone who's an ancestor's grandchild of someone that was supposed to have the gold, and you can make a claim to it, it's rightfully yours. And I think that's kind of how England operated, but also
that's not how Belize operates. That's the president of Belize's gold now.
Right. Well, it depends on where. When it comes to treasure, it doesn't. It actually really depends on where you find it. That happens with a lot of things, but it depends on where you find it. And like in some countries, it will go directly to the state, and the state will pay you for the amount that you return to them. You just don't get to keep it at all.
Like, what's the court that would try this? Because it happens in so many different.
Right. Well, England, I know, has the English chattel courts. I think in the U.S. it would just be like a regular civil court that you would bring a property matter to.
They're breaking out like the 600-year-old books, like from when they were constantly trying people for hiding treasure.
Yeah, that was actually one of the coolest parts. That England just changed their law in 1997, and before it was like if the gold is 300 years old or less, it goes to the state. But if you can prove that it's more than 300 years old and there's no one that can make a claim to it, it goes to you.
Yeah, I think that's what was happening is when this guy developed this fucking submarine that he was going to use to go get this, a bunch of people had a bunch of legislation like ready to go to be like, no, it's mine. No, here's why it's mine. Here's why it's mine. And he just took off and then he sold it because no one could really prove that it was theirs. It was just his because he had it. And he could have just paid the investors back the money. He sold it for $50 million. I mean,
So that's what happened. He screwed the investors.
He screwed the investors. He got sued by the investors.
I need to fact
And those
check
investors
myself.
probably had claim to it.
Or
They believe they have legal claim to it.
Yeah.
It looks like
They haven't
the
gotten
person
anything.
in charge of Belize is the Queen of England, Queen Elizabeth
There
II.
you go.
Whoa.
So maybe that's
There you
why.
go. I'll tell you what,
It could be under title laws.
fastest way to get some of those deniers that their families made a lot of money from the slave trade is to tell them that they got a little gold in their name potentially. They're always denying until there's a potential gold
Who can
inheritance
trace
coming
that
their way.
back? I think all this gold's going to end up in the Tower of London. You guys ever been in there with the crown jewels? Seen
Yes.
that?
Actually, no. That was we got there too late. That was in London, and that was on the list, and I
that's where the
was
Hope
right
Diamond
outside it. I was right outside it.
Like a chest of gold would fit in very nicely in there. They've got a lot of nice scepters and crowns and jewels.
Anyway, Bubba, can you pop up Tommy's the old picture real quick? Does this look like a guy who's going to give up the whereabouts of his gold?
No,
No,
Your Honor.
Nope.
No.
that's a guy you avoid in every scenario. You do not play chess against that guy.
Him and Algernon have quite a stare down going in the
They
courtroom.
certainly do.
Algernon and him
They love each other.
Epic battle. Yeah.
All right, guys. This next one is a doozy. A former Houston police officer, 63-year-old Mark Anthony Alguerre, was charged with aggravated assault with a deadly weapon on Tuesday for running an air conditioning repairman off the road, putting a gun to his head, and then detaining him until police arrived. And all this as part of an investigation that he was working on into voter fraud during the presidential election.
Stop and steal.
Yeah, so Alguerre believed the air conditioner repairman was carrying 750,000 fraudulent ballots in his box truck, and that man was, quote, the mastermind of a giant voter fraud, leaving Alguerre no choice but to ram the back of the man's truck in traffic after all the fate of fair and honest election was on
Before seeing was actually in the truck.
Alguerre's shoulders.
So is Alguerre a big Biden guy? Because he thinks, is he trying to overturn the Texas results?
No, he thought that there were fraudulent ballots in that. This is before the election, 2 weeks before the election.
Okay.
Right, and
Okay.
he took it upon himself. Anyway, when the repairman got out, Alguerre pointed a gun at him, forced him to the ground, and then put his knee on the man's back. And then when authorities arrived, you'd imagine Alguerre's surprise when the only thing they found in the man's truck were air conditioner parts and tools.
Yeah.
So,
That's the classic scene, like in a movie. He's like, "Go ahead and open it up. You'll see."
right. Must have just dumped him.
And he's just shocked. When
This is
he's
just
wrong.
a classic case of just schizophrenia getting directed in another direction.
You'd think that was it, Wes. You'd think that was
Got to
it.
be, right?
But it is not. This is what makes it a fucking doozy, guys. Alguerre was not acting as a lone patriot. In fact, he was hired by Steve Hotz, a GOP mega donor, through his organization, the Liberty Center for God and Country, to the tune of, wait for it, $266,000. That's what this guy was paying Alguerre. Yeah.
For how long? Like just a month?
2 weeks of work, 3 weeks of work.
Wow, that's a good rate.
To break up the election fraud.
We got to get in on this super PACs, guys. I'm telling you.
There's so much money.
Before they should be outlawed, morally, but like in terms of opportunities for us.
Mm-hmm. No, exactly.
Before
I'm
the
glad you brought
gravy
that up.
train's done. We need to.
It's never going to be done. Well, the gravy train's going to be there. We just got to get on board.
We got to get in because this guy with his whatever PAC or whatever, the Liberty Center for God and Country, raised, oh man, I want to say like $600 and something thousand, hired El Gary. El Gary told police that he was part of a private citizens group investigating claims of the massive fraud, and it was allegedly the fraud was funded by CEO Mark Zuckerberg to the tune of $9.37 billion. Zuckerberg threw in $9.3 billion. And the fraud also involved ballots forged by Hispanic children. So that was the fraud that he was investigating, paid real money for it. The Liberty Center for God and Country, whose mission statement is to, quote, provide the bold and courageous leadership necessary to restore our nation to its godly heritage by following the strategy that our pilgrim forefathers gave us. Anyway, apparently they raised more than $600K leading up to November 1st to hire private investigators and attorneys to discover, expose, and disrupt the Democrats' massive election fraud scheme in Harris County. That's a quote.
What led this guy to the air conditioning truck?
No idea. That's what it doesn't say.
He's still crazy. He put a gun to an air conditioning guy's
Why
head.
do you think, why do you think there were ballots in the air
266
conditioning
grand.
truck?
He's getting paid $250,000 to do it, man.
I think that's what happened. Was this guy just like he'd never been paid this much before to do a job?
He had
So
to
was
get
like,
results.
I gotta get
Yes.
results.
Yeah, he had.
If
to
I
get
don't put a
results.
gun to somebody's head, the super PAC's gonna pull the checks.
But
So
who's
it's like-
buying in?
The
Had to
guy in
produce
the
a
air
crime.
conditioning truck looked one direction too many times, like shady, and he was like, "That's the truck."
But dude, some guy comes to you and he's like, all right, here's the deal. Zuckerberg, you know that guy? Yeah, he's throwing $9.3 billion in this. He's got a bunch of Hispanic kids filling out fraudulent ballots, and this air conditioner guy's driving around Houston. Here's $250,000. Go break it up.
What's sad is that the government's so shady that it's easy to spin yarns that are believable.
Absolutely.
Like
Right.
because they are so shady. Like how many wars have we faked our way into in America?
Not
You know?
only that, Will,
like-
but when like you said, like when someone cuts you a check that clears for $266,000, you're like, maybe they
Approved,
know
federal
something I
government.
don't know. Yeah, like
right? The
maybe I should
QAnon,
go hunt down these air conditioning trucks.
probably
QAnon
Approved
to
by
this
the
gate guy.
IRS.
The Pizzagate guy was a fucking psycho. This is like Pizzagate on crack.
Yeah, for sure.
Anyway, El Gary had at least two other companies or companions with him, and they set up a command post at the Marriott Hotel in Pearland, and they'd been tracking this air conditioner repairman for 4 days.
This poor guy didn't even know.
I had no idea.
We know you got the ballots in there.
He's just fixing people's AC units.
El
Just
Gary,
pouring cream in his coffee. Just
El Gary contacted his former police department, asking them to assist him in a traffic stop, to which they laughed at him.
I'm gonna need the SWAT team, fellas.
Right.
You guys
He's
won't
got-
believe
oh,
what's
man.
in this truck.
And the Hispanic kids, their hands are tired. They've been filling out these ballots. They laughed at him, and he responded by telling police he'd handle it, which alarmed police, and they put an extra bit of attention on Gary. When police arrived, he demanded that they arrest the repairman, even though there were no ballots in the truck, telling officers, quote, "You can be a hero or part of the problem. I just hope that you're a patriot." Guys, this is...
I mean, I like that line though.
right.
That's if you're gonna hit somebody
That-
with a line about what you're doing.
That sounds like a movie line. Yeah.
Mhm. Well, he was living in his own movie, guys. El Gary's attorney did an interview yesterday and said that El Gary is being politically persecuted for his aggravated assault charges.
Well, I bet he's got a big defense fund from the PAC.
I bet he's got an interesting Facebook. You know what I mean?
Yep. And guys, this is not the first time El Gary has made some crazy arrests on a hunch. Back in 2004, he was fired from Houston Police Department after leading a crackdown on illegal street racing that resulted in him doing a raid in a Kmart parking lot, yielding 278 arrests, none of which were related to street racing, and all of which were subsequently dropped.
278 arrests.
He rounded up 278 people.
Over the course of a month.
Remember
And
we
there
did
was no
that
one
story?
actually doing any street
They're
racing.
racing too.
We did a story about Houston street racers not too like a year ago. They round them up all
This
the time.
guy's kind of the best. He's just
This is where we're at in our country now.
He's so convincing, but he's always wrong.
He's
Some
a vigilante.
psycho guy, some guy that was smart enough to make millions of dollars, raised $600,000 from people that need it, and then
Well,
he
maybe
paid
not. It
some
could be from
psycho.
corporations, man. It could be. That's the beauty of a super PAC. Could be
Oh,
dark
my
money
God.
that just goes straight to El Gary.
All you need is a suit and to tell El Gary that he's needed, and you can get him to do whatever you tell him.
Dude, you know he's buying new shit. You like when you get a fucking check, you got a check for $211.
Suitcase of cash.
$211K the day after this incident went down. Like he's like, yeah, things are really turning around for El Gary. He was running a state liquidation business up until this point. So
Yeah.
Poor gullible.
No, he used to be
everyone in that
USPD.
story.
He's the best.
El Gary loves election season.
He's like Dwight Schrute.
He knows he's going to get hooked up
He
with
does
some
sound
shady
like Dwight
deals.
Yeah. All right, guys, one more for you. Guys, the mayor of Paris, Anne Hidalgo, hates men. She must. Otherwise, why would she blatantly go against the French law that says men and women must be equally represented in local government with at least 40% of each sex represented?
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's
Like amongst elected positions or amongst hired positions?
elected and appointed.
Elected, so you could like literally not be eligible to win a race because you are the wrong sex.
I believe so, Will. Yeah, but it changed. It changed.
That sounds like the exact opposite of history up until recently.
Right. It does. Doesn't it?
You know what that's
It was
like?
only, it was
No,
only
that
men.
sounds
It was
no,
only
exact-
men. It was
right,
exact. It was
right.
only men. It was only
Right,
men.
exactly.
It's weird.
Yeah.
Stuff like that
I don't
happens.
know. I don't know how that joke works on
Same,
playback.
but
My
different.
joke is it was always men.
Yes.
Right.
Stuff like that happens when countries are trying to preserve their culture. Like French Canada, like has a requirement that a certain amount of the music played on their radio stations has to be in French. Like they do that. So like, but never in like government for elected. That's weird.
No, this sounds fucking stupid.
Yeah. So again, 40% of each sex represented, but because Mayor Anne Hidalgo hates men so much, back in 2018, her office hired 4 men and 11. You heard that? 11 women for senior roles.
dare they?
Pat, that's 69% vaginas to 31% penises, and that pissed
Sounds
the
like
French.
Florida State.
Right? Yeah. That pissed
Florida
the
State numbers.
the French Ministry of Public Service right off, so they fined this man hater $109,000 and asked her, "Are you crazy or something?" To that, Hidalgo.
Try that again, Wes.
Wait. Are you crazy or something?
There you go. That's better.
To
You
that,
gotta end it like you're asking a question.
Are you crazy? All these women. To that, Hidalgo said, "You want your money? You got it. But the women stay," which is legal now in France. That France passed a law that said she could now keep the women as long as the overall percentage is not at an imbalance. So currently the French government stands at just 47% women, which get 6% less than their male counterparts, probably to make up for all the maternity leave or something. In response, got him. And the internet is memeing the crap out of this woman.
You know, you said paternity leave.
Yeah, look at they're just memeing Anne Hidalgo everywhere, Bubba. You got the meme. This is just
Okay.
Yeah.
When you
So
hate men.
vicious.
Look at that classic old school meme, 2015
Yeah, the French
style.
are like 10
Yeah.
years behind on me.
When you hate men and
That's
block
also
letters.
not creative. Also, why is it so bad she hired 11? Like, that's just.
I made that meme.
Those were the best
did
people
you?
for the job.
Yeah.
You know what, Will? It's interesting. Like quota laws, obviously, like are there for a reason, right? And it's to reset an imbalance, but they can't go on forever. You know what I mean? Like you got every fucking quota law needs to have an expiration date on it, because otherwise, then you run into like weird ass situations.
Why can't it just be like the best people get the jobs, period, regardless of anything?
Well, because for a while there, no one was hiring women because of sexism. So like once the quota, if the quota is there for 5 years, they establish themselves.
Nepotism is a bigger problem than
because
people
of
are
like,
racist and
because of sexism and racism. But it would be nice to just like have less of those isms and more candidates that are like, but then you can vote on whoever. You don't have to pick someone based on something, but it'd be nice to have more candites that are diverse.
Maybe that's why Biden called Chasten Kristen. Maybe he was keeping him under a quota.
Wishful thinking.
I don't know. Come on, man. He's my buddy. It's my
Trying to
buddy.
get his numbers
Kirsten
right.
Chasten. I don't know.
Hey, he's Kristen from now on. Got it?
Yeah.
Chasten.
He's always been Kirsten to me.
That would be hilarious if he came out and he's like, actually, I'm going to go by Kirsten now.
Yeah.
Trust
He's
me,
like,
you're
he's like,
messing
hey-
with quotas here, man.
He's like, hey, like I don't make the rules in a gay marriage. One of them gets a girl name. I don't know. Like,
Hey, man, let me ask you a question.
One of them wears
Is
the
your,
bow
is
tie.
your husband going to be pissed if he's got to go by Kristen and
No, we should
be a
wrap-
girl?
All right.
we should
In
we should
response,
wrap it up.
In response, Hidalgo put out this statement / warning to all men, saying, in Paris, we are doing everything to make it a success, and I am very, very proud of a large team of women and men. I'm doing Spanish, but I don't care. Men who carry together this fight for equality. Then she peered into the camera with a look that could take your dick off and said, so there would be many of us. Referring to the women that are going to come and take the jobs. And that's going to do it for Hard Factor. Thank you again for listening. Hey, check out this new hat I got going on here. Tune into YouTube. You guys got something you want to say?
Yeah, go to youtube.com/hardfactornews.
We've said plenty today.
Yeah, I mean,
we have.
it's good. I like your ominous warning about the Parisian
Hey,
bear.
That's
coming
what
for all
she
men.
literally said. She said that.
There are many of us.
There will be many of us.
Tomorrow's Florida Man Friday. So,
Yeah, by the way, I messed that up. You guys were right. I just can't read. Biden
Kirsten.
said Kirsten.
Yeah.
My bad.
Yep.
All right. Well, hey, guys, thank you again. We'll see you tomorrow for Florida Man
Like
Friday.
Kristen, but different. Sorry.
Chasten. Have a great fucking day.